everything is just crazy. Food, clothing,
Mhm.
play, or toys, as well as emotional regulation and sensory play for your child, preparing for sicknesses. Because sicknesses, they're going to happen and it will be a true nightmare for you.
My youngest one had a peanut allergy. So I fed him very, very tiny little bit of peanut butter. When he was like 6 months old, his lips started swelling and then his neck started swelling too.
I'm constantly struggling to feed any protein to my child.
The more you pressure them to eat like meat, the more likely they would not.
What I have learned is that your child will be good at things that surround him.
When they started daycare, it was like my kid was sick, I was sick, my husband was sick, and then like he was sick again, and it was just this constant cycle for at least 6 months of the year. Just listen to your guts. Like when something just feels off, like just go to the doctor.
Try to take care of yourself. Do Uber Eats. Don't cook. Decrease the amount of housework. Take care of yourself so that you can take care of your kid. I always wait for this time when, at least for 1 or 2 weeks, everything is going to be run smoothly. But this time might not come. It's important to just go with the flow, accept that it's a roller coaster.
Give them some sort of activity where they have like a push and pull. They need to be able to have something like pushing against the wall in order to stay grounded in terms of their emotions. And before bed, I usually ask my kids to do some exercise like either jumping jacks or like it does help them calm down. Hey everyone! Hi again. Welcome to SaaSy Moms. I'm Wendy.
I'm Anya, and today we are going to set expectation for you moms and parents around what you need to know about since the time your baby turns like 9 months and maybe up until their toddlership ends. Wendy, I'm now in a toddlership. I'm now a mom of toddler. And I can tell you that I don't know how to survive up until 4 years old anymore.
Tell me more. What do you mean by that?
You mentioned you don't miss this age. And I think, I don't know, everything is just crazy. From food till regulation, till sicknesses that our children or toddlers get once they just first start a daycare. And a problem with food, them being all over the place and not knowing really like what to do with all of this.
Yeah,
The
but
only
I
good
gotta
thing,
say, I did say to you because like we were just chatting before we record on how the last few weeks was very tough for you because your kid has been sick, and then is this cycle when like your kids get sick, you get sick, and your partner gets sick, and then it's just like a vicious cycle. I do want to say I did not miss that part, but like my kids are now 6, right? They just actually turned 6, and then one of them is 9.5. I do miss the toddler stage where they're cute. They say
yeah.
funny things and things like that. I do miss that, but I do want to say I do not miss all that cleaning when they have like sickness and like you have to restart their schedule all over again because like everything gets out of whack. That I don't miss.
But honestly, I'm also like currently in between cycles because my son is 18 months old and the
Yes.
thing is he doesn't yet talk. He does say like certain words, obviously, that he wants usually to get,
Yeah.
or repeats the same word over and over and over again. So I kind of don't even like understand. Obviously, he is super cute. We can laugh a lot, and he will just have pure joy out of nothing. Like I guess this is the biggest and the most favorite part of mine. But nighttime routine is a struggle. It's like a fight. It's no longer a routine. I don't know this like Instagram. Oh, my daughter is sitting and we are reading books. My son will be like, let me flip the books. I can't read from one page to another. Like, and then he will like take it and throw it away, and then he will not be able to talk. So he's just crying because he couldn't put a sticker on the elephant.
I
So it's
totally understand. I feel like when, before I even became a mom, I had these like vision. I'm like, oh, like I'm gonna read a book. It's gonna be like quiet time, and then go to bed. It's like all these like fantasy, I guess, like what it's like me trying to, fantasize, and then when it's actual reality, it's like nope, out the door. And every kid is so different. like so different. Like how I even like parent my oldest one and even the twins that are, came out almost at the same time, they're so different. How you talk to them, all these things are so different. So it's like, yeah, like there's no ideal or like fantasy that you're thinking of. It's all go out the window. So that brings us to our topic of today. What do we have for our audience, Anna?
So let's talk about. So actually, this episode is a continuation of our previous one, where we talked about what to prepare for once you have a child. And this was great episode for when your child is really not moving, eating breast milk, just lying there and sleeping. But then let's talk about what advice can we give to, and what maybe things our like parents can research and investigate and know about. Once the child is now more active, they start crawling, they start walking, they're entering toddlership, their food intake changes, their demand for toys increases, demand from parents on like managing a child, their emotions as well as their routine increases. So let's talk about what is our number one advice and experience with that.
Yeah, and then just to add, these actually came from one of our listener. They're expecting, so they had these questions for us. So we're answering your questions. And again, like if you're an audience, please always ping us. We're always happy to answer any of your questions you have. So let's get started.
Okay, so obviously there are just a couple of things, I guess, that we want to talk today about. Number one is food, clothing,
Hmm.
play, or like toys, how to encourage play, different type of activities, as well as maybe like emotional regulation and like sensory maybe like play for your child, as it gets very important. And we also can talk about preparing our parents for sicknesses and how to manage the child's routine, because we don't want to think about sicknesses, but they're going to happen and it will be a true nightmare for you.
All right, let's get started. Where should we start first?
Let's start with the food,
Okay.
because I think food is quite interesting. As with my experience, I see that food evolves quite a lot.
Mm.
So let's say when your baby just moves to solids, like from my experience, right? Usually your baby needs a lot of fat. So uh, I would recommend for you to just be cautious about it. Babies are great at just eating butter. I don't know if you have seen those videos on Instagram, but let's say I was giving my child a lot of like bone marrow, all like buttery toasts with lots of butter on it and like avocado, and ensuring basically that there is as much fat as possible because it's key for their development. The thing I loved about that stage was that baby literally eats anything. I have never had like picky eater. He would eat all sorts of vegetables, would explore all sorts of textures. Will eat this like weird like bone marrow whipped stuff, which I personally wouldn't eat. They give it a piece of like fried fat from a good beef and they will eat it. It's just amazing. They just eat everything. They're excited. So really experiment. Obviously find what your child is, but don't be afraid to like mix even chicken with apple. Cause like one of my friends, they said that their child loved just applesauce mixed with the blended, just like boiled chicken.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's like I remember during that stage, I just mixed a bunch of stuff that like to let them try. Like, and obviously you need to keep a record because there is allergy that happened, and I can talk through it a little bit as well. But yeah, like I what I did was like I had these cubes and I would like blend a bunch. I did not make like fresh ones all the time. It was just undoable. So I'll make it like every other day or every 2 days. I'll make a batch and I'll freeze some and then cook some. But yeah, I blended a bunch of different things. Like it'll be sometimes a vegetable, sometimes a meat. I'll give them some on the table. I'll even sometimes like let them try what we're eating. So I was pretty like, like even when we're outside too, like if they're interested in like trying something, I'll just let them. Obviously, trying to watch for allergies. But one thing I do want to recommend is as you're starting, food and solid is I don't know what it is about Canada, but there's a lot of like nut allergy. Like where I grew up in like Asia, there's I like hardly any talk about that. But in Canada, it's recommended to at least, feed your baby some of the more highly likely allergic stuff. So then like you can like the more you let them eat it, the more less likely they would develop the allergy because it's like the smallest amount will get their system like working. But my youngest one, he actually had a peanut allergy. So I fed him like seriously like a sesame side or even like a very very tiny little bit of peanut butter when he was like 6 months old. And like within I want to say like 15-20 minutes, his lips started like swelling and then his
Mm.
neck started swelling too. So we did have to take him to the hospital to get it treated. But one of the really good thing, like if your kid has allergies, is definitely see a immunotherapist. So what they do is like within, I believe, like before age 5, you can have the system where they will like feed you very tiny little bit of like peanut powder, and then they will increase it every 2 weeks and then like slowly every 1 month to get to a tolerance of actually 12 peanuts. That's kind of when he graduated from being peanuts allergy free. So like even on forms right now for daycares and things like that, I do not need to put he has a peanut allergy. We don't need to carry around a EpiPen with us. The only thing is he does need to eat like about like 2 to 4 peanuts every week to sustain it. So I will highly recommend it just so then like you are feeding your baby some allergic nuts potentially to avoid it in the future. And if you detect it really early on, there is a way of putting that immunotherapy, treatment with your kid to get it rid of it. Just because it's like so much food has like different nuts in it, especially if you travel to Asia. So yeah, it's one of the highly recommended things I've always tell parents to do.
Yeah, that's amazing advice. I never knew it, so I learned as we were talking, and it's great. Yeah, because you don't want your child to be allergic for like life, especially then they will not be able to eat half of the food that
Yeah,
is.
and then, like, the stress of, like, carrying the EpiPen because the
Yeah,
EpiPen also, like, expires, so, like, I always have to fill a new prescription, like, for the
yeah.
first, like, 4 years of his life, right? And, like, being able to, like, always remember how to use the EpiPen, like, being cautious of, like, the food intake when we're going out and, like, even daycare and things like that. It was just really stressful, so I didn't even know there was a way of actually treating the peanut allergy, so definitely, if you guys are listeners and have any actually nut allergies, it's not just peanuts. Is there's like chestnut, pistachio, like cashew, any type of nuts. And I remember the doctor even saying like some kids are even allergic to like tomatoes. So there are treatments for many of these. If it's like before, I want to say like age 5 to 6, it's very treatable.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Well, now the totally different story is, I think, when child goes into toddlership. Because now they develop their taste and they become very, very picky eaters. I think if I allow it, my son will only eat fruits and bread and crackers.
I think that's every kid. It's every kid.
So, but yeah, but something is that, like, honestly, like, I still try to give him, like, protein and ensure that he eats protein. But there was one interesting post that I have seen recently, which I actually would like to share because I think it might get a lot of stress out of you and it got a lot of stress out of me. So, apparently, like, toddlers, they actually like they require a lot of carbs just because how much they move. So in order to stay active, they need carbs. And I think that all they need is just 13 gram of protein. So if you think about 13 gram of protein, again, I'm not an advisor. Please check this facts if you kind of believe in them or not. But I recommend you checking it in how much protein intake toddler requires. But if 13 gram is true, it means that what your toddler need is just like 2 eggs a day, or let's say like egg and couple of cheese slices, or let's say like a mixture of those like chicken and an egg or chicken and cheese. So realistically, like I'm constantly struggling to feed any protein to my child, and in fact I know moms whose children completely do not want to eat anything that has meat in it. So, like,
Mhm.
even they will not even eat broth, like, let's say, a soup. veggie broth where like maybe also a couple of chickens were there, and you don't even give children chicken, but like their children will not even eat the broth
Mm,
and like veggies because how like averted they are towards the protein. So luckily I don't have a problem, but I like it's important to know that when they're
yeah.
toddlers, they will want to eat a lot of like a lot of carbs.
Oh,
So
yeah.
pizza, bread, crackers,
It
porridge,
yeah.
stuff like that. This is what
It
they want.
yeah, I remember my firstborn, like my older son, he does not like vegetables or meat. I remember like having to like blend it all together and make like sauce, like spaghetti sauce, and that he would eat. So
Oh,
like I
okay.
remember like there was a lot of like tricks I had to do. And even like for pizza, like for the pizza sauce, I would like mix it with like blend it a little bit with like the meats and like, overpowering it with obviously like pizza sauce. Like I did a lot of like trickeries like that. But like with the twins, I kind of just let them be. Like
Yeah.
yeah, because it's like, eventually, I feel like the more you pressure
Tell-
them to eat, like, meat, the more likely they would not. Like, my oldest son, like, still hates, like, chicken. He cannot stand even the texture, like, the taste of it. Like, he's okay with, like, beef and pork. But, yeah, like, I feel like the more you pressure them, the more you try, like, tricking them and things like that, I feel like eventually you'll get caught up, in it. That's how I feel at least. Because with the twins, is like especially the girl, she still doesn't really love meat, but she'll eat it. She knows, like, she needs to eat it, and everyone else around the table eats it, so she eats it. So I don't put any pressure on her, and, like, the things you said, like cheese was great. Like, cheese has, like, fat and, like, protein, and it's, like, a great, source of these things. Yeah, I just let them be, and yeah, they're active, they're playing well, so yeah, that's kind of too extreme. I was really extreme on one end and then just like whatever with the twins.
Yeah. Still extreme because I want him to eat like a beef patty, but I'm like really challenging. And I think the more I try, the more averse to beef he becomes. Chicken, I don't even talk about. He just doesn't eat it. I think he doesn't like a texture or
The
anything.
texture, yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. So chicken nuggets are fine, but they're not very healthy.
You can make it yourself.
Yeah.
You can like technically make it yourself. It's not as good, but yeah.
So I have
Um,
a cheese recipe if I can share just because
yes.
I think it's super easy for anyone to make. It literally takes just 2 minutes. So what I do, and my son loves it, I do the ricotta cheese. I mix it with like a cream cheese. I add eggs there, obviously, and then a little bit like of you can do it. You don't have like a little bit shred like the lemon skin just for the taste, and then I add a bit of flour, but in a sense that when I, like
Mix it.
mix it all together, it's still like almost cheese. It's like almost cheese,
Oh,
but you just still add a little bit of flour just for it to have
like
a better texture and be
mhm,
able to,
like
after
hold it
it's
together.
baked, it holds it together. And then you can add a little bit of like sugar. Like I'm not so against it, but I found that if I blend dates, like it's
Ah,
like like it's not like a
natural sugar.
sugar, but it's like natural sugar. And so I just mix it all. It takes literally 2 minutes to do, and I bake it. And then I bake it for like an hour, take out, and then it's just like I slice it once it's gets like you can eat it like without heating up. It's just amazing snack, high protein, and this what saves me always. Especially before bedtime, he loves it. He will eat a ton of it, and this just works, and I highly recommend if you're worried about protein, this is something that you can just
No,
do.
that sounds great. I
Yeah,
want to eat it.
yeah, it's very nice. I like it too. Okay,
Okay.
so this is food. Now, let's move on to next topic. What do you want to discuss? Should we talk
Let's
about
do yeah, play.
play? Okay, perfect.
All right. So the question was like, how do we encourage learning through play?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So actually, I have an advice because what I noticed with my child is that actually, like, first of all, obviously, every child is different. Like, my child is very excited for physical play. So anything which
Mm,
is physical, like, it's hard for me to even make him, like, just do things like, but Anyways, so you can buy, like, you can look what are Montessori toys are there. And what I have learned is that your child will be good at things that surround him. So, for example, we just accidentally introduced like tricycles for him, the ones that he has to push, and like the car that he has to push. And it's just here all the time. And he just naturally has this tendency and interest towards those. And like he's already advanced, like he like constantly teaches himself how to do a navigation, how to go around furniture, how to push it backward, how to push it forward. We also have this like very, very old like elephant that just has this like, I don't know, legs, and he just goes back and
Oh,
forth in
yeah,
it
yeah.
like this.
Like
So
like a horsey thing?
like
Like
a
a
horsey, yeah,
working
yeah,
horse?
yeah.
Yeah.
So honestly, it was just inside our apartment, and that's it. And like he just naturally was curious to get onto it and to do it. And then when he was 9 months, I purchased him like a toy which has lots of buttons too, like switches, buttons. He also like, it's not always he can't do everything, but eventually he became so proficient in it. Now he can click every button, he can turn it on. He even does very like complex ones where you put a key inside. And I also have like this farm book which where it needs to like take things off of it, then put it at correct place, then like count 1, 2, 3 there. So just naturally, because he loves this, he just like engages and he naturally learns. And it's not enforced. Like maybe 2 weeks ago he wasn't able to like have the tomato and put it where tomato needs to be, but now he can. So I would just honestly, I don't have like recommendation, but I really like those Montessori books where there are a lot of different activities, like buttons, like something to do. And I know I miss a lot. I know he can learn much more, but I don't like push for it. But whatever you have within your environment, your child will do. So that is my like biggest recommendation, is just
Yes.
decide what you want them to learn and they will naturally learn it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Like, what I have done in the past was like, we have like boxes. Like I put like similar toys into like different boxes, and then I would like kind of rotate these toys because like every time you rotate them, it becomes sort of new to them, and
Yeah,
then that's
graded
what I
light, by the
do.
way. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I usually do, and I totally agree with you. Anything that is in sight, they would try to play and try to explore. It's just the natural curiosity of kids. So that's what I would recommend. I don't really, yeah, like you, I don't really have any recommendation on like particular toys, but like I can tell you, like my boys were super into like cars, so they bought these. We had these like magnet tiles and things. So they build like roads and like slopes and things like that to like move the cars around. That was one thing that they could like, really focus on and do. Lego, like the big blocks, like not the tiny Legos, is something that they really enjoy too. Like they would like make, I don't know, dinosaurs and like very like creativity, make a lot of different things with like things that building blocks. Like puzzles is another thing that they really love. One of the things that I still remember, like my oldest loved playing was these puzzles that have like shapes and they have like sounds. So like when you put it correctly, there's like a sound that makes it, and then like it's like kind of like positive reinforcement every time you get it right. There's a sound. So he loved those. So it's a lot of like I feel like puzzle building blocks, those type of things where they can like sit and like do. It's something that they're interested in, and like the girl, like she was really into like kitchen and like cooking and things when she was younger too. So I think it's just like you put out some toys and they would start exploring, and then you will see them like always going to that kind of toy, and then you will see them like even like maybe that's not even the purpose of that toy, and they would start exploring it and doing other stuff with it. So I don't have any recommendation on what toys. It's really based on the kid's interest. But one of the tip I do have is like try to put similar toys in like a box or whatever, like a something, then you rotate them. It just makes it fresh and new for them. So you don't have to constantly buy toys. And the other thing was they love anything that is not even a toy. Like my kid used to love like remote controls and like, I don't know, things like that, that it's like is not really a toy, but they love playing. So yeah, like even my kid had like keyboard, like an old keyboard of mine. He would like type, and that's how even my younger son learned the letters. Cause I'll be like, oh, like type this, like I'm typing this. Like I will like narrate to him, like I'm typing this, and then he eventually kind of figure out the letters. So there's still a lot of things that I think you incorporate into your day to day and don't make it, very hard, and they would engage.
Yeah, it's actually funny on a topic of TV. I like my son is 18 months old and he really doesn't like TV, or maybe we don't just give him certain TV that he likes, but we're okay with it. But obviously it's not like we are not like super like, oh, we are limiting
Yeah.
completely. He can't even look at the screen. So we're not that crazy. And I have noticed that actually my son, like he loves reels and like YouTube shorts. And in fact, he is more fascinated when like a real person talks or does something versus
That's
like
so
those
funny.
TV shows where there are animals and little cats. So I
That's
let him
funny.
like scroll the reels, like let him like, and then he will actually like there would be like a woman just sitting and the dietitian giving advice, and he will like listen, and he will be the most engaged person you have ever seen.
That's too funny. Yeah, well, actually, it's when I read, it's actually recommended not to give kids any like TV and screen time before they're two. I don't
Yeah.
know, take it with a grain of salt. So like I personally didn't, but I know there were situations where you just had to. I don't really have any limit beyond like my kids right now, they do get screen time every day, but it's like something that they earn.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Good.
All right.
Okay.
Should we do talk about clothings?
Sure. Nothing to talk about. All you have to know, your clothing will be dirty. So you just have to accept that anything you buy is going to be dirty, at least up until they, I don't know, eat normally.
And well, it's not just their clothes, it's like your floor. It's constantly dirty and messy and always
Exactly.
crumbs and like your hair, your shirt.
But my favorite brand is Zara. They have a lot. They have a lot of like natural like type of clothing, which is important for me. Also care about style because again, everything depends like what are you going to be interested in as a parent, I think. Because kids don't care what they wear, 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So everything like I do feel like my son he likes dressing up well, just maybe some
That's cute.
little reactions, but I know he will be happy with anything. Like
Yeah.
I also have a lot of like secondhand clothing,
Yeah.
which also works very well and can be also stylish. But like I personally, as a parent, like I want my son to look like very good, and I
Yes.
want to kind of develop a sense of style. So that's why I shop in Zara, and I think they have a great collection of different type of like nice bright shirts. They have nice like plain and just like and you can pick and choose. It is a little bit pricey and expensive, but that depends what you as a parent want.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love like when my boys were younger, I love dressing them as like a man, like like little cute
Yeah.
like polos or like dress shirts, and it's cute when they're like a baby and toddler, especially when they're like can start walking and like it's cute.
I don't remember if you remember, but when you learned that I'm pregnant, you gave me a gift of this onesie, which was really stylish, and it had this like polo neck, and I was like, oh,
Yeah, I love dressing little babies as like, like men, like
yeah, yeah.
cute tops. It's cute. All right. So nothing really for clothing. I think for toddler, like for like preschool and like daycare and like play groups. For daycare, usually they would recommend like I forgot what those are called, the rain jackets, the
Yeah.
onesie.
This
Well,
one. So
yeah.
it's because we live in Vancouver and it is constant rain. So if you are living where you're rain, you need to have a rain gear and ensuring that your child is fully protected, doesn't have like
Yeah, so that's the only thing that I remember, and then obviously, like, different seasons, like, especially for daycare, I don't know if it was like that for you guys, it was like in the wintertime, they crank up the heat really, really high too, so, like, my kid hated wearing, like, long sleeves, so I would, like, pack a sweater and, like, a short sleeve because they would run around and get hot, so it just really depends, like, I don't yeah, there's not really anything that I can recommend for clothings. Alright. How about what else do we have here?
Let's talk about sicknesses. I think this
Okay.
is one of the most important thing that we didn't have this question, but we totally recommend you thinking about it and maybe potentially developing a backup plan. So I think the first important thing is that I do recommend, and I do have this belief, like unfortunately, like we live in Canada where all of our healthcare system is quite public. And because of that, we have very strong triage rules on who actually gets to see the doctor, even urgent care. If you go to to emergency, sometimes you can spend like 13, 14 hours just if you were, like, But I always recommend as a parent, listening to your guts. And if you see that something is wrong with your child, and like even if they become like more cry than usual, maybe nothing visible, more irritable, go to a doctor.
Completely
Recently,
agree.
like I have struggled for a month. So since the end of April to the end of May with my child. And I thought that like I always thought like, oh my God, maybe my child is sensitive. Maybe because he goes to daycare, he comes like he was upset for anything. Like basically what happened to him, his tolerance to tolerate anything was dropped completely. So like he can take a toy and toy drop, like let's say toy drops and he need to pick up. In a usual self, he will just pick up and go. Like we'll say and pick it up and go. This was a period where all of this was just immense cry. Sleep
Mm.
was affected too, and like constant cry and cry and cry. I was able to somehow put up with this by just thinking, oh, I need to regulate. I need to put his little feet into sand, and this regulates him. And he was kind of more calm after these activities. But after 4 weeks of struggle, finally the fever came out and we had to go to multiple doctors. And what happened was he had an ear infection. So my child was struggling with poor sleeping because of the ear infection. And then guess what? After this ear infection, the antibiotics were prescribed. I see behavior doesn't improve. He keeps hitting his ear, he keeps hitting his face, he keeps still like hitting him. I go to a doctor again, and apparently after 7 days this antibiotic didn't work. So we had to do on a second antibiotic, and only second antibiotic cleared the ear infection up completely. So, sometimes nothing visible can be, but if your child is becoming cranky, irritable all the time, cries, doesn't sleep normally, that before he slept well, but now doesn't sleep, it means something is with the health. Go see a doctor. Don't wait. I personally learned it very hard way. All of this affects routine, all of this affects functionality, all of this affects mood in your family. So just remember that every sickness will result in another week or two of adjustment with kids, and then they will get sick again. And you're back on track with adjustment and poor sleep and everything again.
I know. I was telling Anya before we hit the record not to put like too much stress on parents right now that are going through it. Just know that when I with my kids, it was up to about 3 years old. I think it's like when they started daycare, when they started interacting with more kids and more like people, and then like the daily thing, it was a constant cycle. It was like my kid was sick, I was sick, my husband was sick, and then like he was sick again, and it was just like this constant cycle for at least like I want to say 6 months of the year. Usually it happens between like September to like maybe April, and then you have the summer. Usually you're okay, maybe one or two times. But yeah, it's like this constant thing, and I felt like it was like 2 seasons, and then it got better. I was like, "Is this never gonna end? Is this ever gonna end?" But yes, like I don't know if like I remember my mom was telling me, he's like, "Oh, like, it's to like help with their immune system." Like I don't know, but at the same time, like I want to say like they did get better. Like my kids still get sick, obviously. It's just the nature of things, and they still go to school, but it wasn't as constant as the first, like I want to say like second, third year when they started kind of daycare and like more
Yeah.
preschool. But yeah, it's so hard. It's actually the same kind of incident that happened with me. My kid actually had a ear infection too, but he also had a fever. So it wasn't like you, where it was hidden in that regard. So he was actually on antibiotics. So the first symptom was actually his throat. So we actually went to the family doctor, got prescribed his throat and everything, and he seemed like a little bit better. And then I feel like it was like maybe a week later, he started like banging his head, like just on my shoulder, like all the time. And I was like, that's weird. Like, and I never knew that that's how kids react when there's an ear infection. I just felt like he was really irritable because of his fever, like his head hurts or something. You know how like when adults have fever. So I never really took into like account like, oh, I just need to like finish up this antibiotics and hopefully he'll be better. And he just never did. So then his fever kind of like was on and off, right? And then we called Allerstein and it was like, hey, like just watch it. the antibiotics takes a few more days to like let it happen. And we kind of waited a day or two and then just like, and I kind of like sense in my gut, I'm like, this doesn't seem right. Like, he's supposed to be get better. I don't feel like he is. So we actually went to doctor again. And then, yes, again, prescribed yet another antibiotics to get rid of the ear infection. So yeah, like I think just listen to your guts. Like when something just feels off, like just go to the doctor. And sometimes it's like even worthwhile to get a second opinion because sometimes like the family doctor might not have all the equipments to check, on everything. So you might have to go to the ER. So just so then like don't think you're second guessing yourself. Sometimes you just follow your gut. Because the second time we actually went to the ER, to the children's hospital in Vancouver, and then got it all checked and got the second prescription prescribed. So yeah, it's an ongoing battle for all these things because like you're learning as a parent, and sometimes you just don't know. Like they don't have the words to express themselves either. So you're like kind of advocating for them in a way.
Yeah, my child, he was like actually grabbing, like he didn't do this banging, even though sometimes I did notice he would like hit himself at the
Mm,
back, but also he was constantly like grabbing like his face like this, like he was trying to
mm,
get something out. And yeah, only once everything cleared, he stopped doing that. And another thing, it's more like for a recommendation for like moms, because I think I learned it very difficult way, is like actually two recommendations. So recommendation number one is honestly like when your child gets sick, it's not fun. Like trust me, you might think it's like only crazy moms are affected, but no, it will not be fun. Your child will be like having trouble sleeping. Like your entire family will be quite stressed, especially
mm,
if you are a new parent.
yeah.
So try to take care of yourself. Like, I don't know, like do Uber Eats, like don't cook, like
Oh
remove
yes.
some of this, like just be like self-care too, like care about yourself, try to decrease the amount of housework, like take care of yourself so that you can take care of your kid. And finally, also what I learned the hard way, because like I always like wait for this time when, oh, at least for 1 or 2 weeks, everything is going to be run smoothly and good and we can have a breather. But the thing is that this time might not come. And I guess just having a child, especially with a child not feeling well sometimes, having through developmental milestones, then having the sleep affected and everything, I think it's important to just go with the flow, accept that it's a roller coaster and it's likely a roller coaster for a long ride. So just be prepared, honestly, like mentally be prepared that this day can go totally not the way you expect it to be.
Yeah, yeah. And then like the other thing is it's tough to like also manage like work as well as like your child
Yes.
being sick. I remember the first like 2 years, especially during that time, actually we were working in the office. It was hard. It was hard. Like I don't think I would have gone through it without my parents' help. Because like as soon as like they're sick, you can't bring them to daycare, and then it's like daycare requires them to be completely, like sometimes they even requires a doctor note on things. So it was really hard. So yeah, like it took a village to be honest. Like I don't even know how I did it with working kind of full time and managing kids being sick. I think I used up like basically all my holidays on
Yeah.
just like basically them being sick days.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You So it was just yeah, it was just hard. So just be yeah, like what Anya said, just be caring for yourself as well and being able to take that time to like heal because like eventually you're gonna get sick too. Like I gotta tell you, like you get tired, you're exhausted, lack of sleep, all of those cause your immune system to go down and you're more likely to catch whatever bugs that they bring as well.
Yeah, I mean, also realistically, I'm thinking, I thought about this advice. Like, for example, I wish we had like a nanny who can just come on call.
Mm.
So it's just the problem is like I would have a nanny right now. The only problem is because we before daycare we kind of interviewed thousands of nanny for a full-time position. I'm just very tired to interview nannies. I just can't. But we don't have a village, so I'm using my sick days in order to just manage Aiden and manage my son, and we like rotate with my partner who stays home. But I would recommend having a nanny on call and like even just investing into interviewing. Like at the end of the day, it's just a nanny on call. It's not like a full-time nanny. So even there are a lot of like babysitters out there. So just definitely think about
Yeah,
that.
that's a good tip. All right. I think we went through all the questions, have we, Anya?
Yes, absolutely. I think that these are kind of important things. I do want to, though, also kind of actually add one more comment is that I do believe in like sensory play because I do think that sensory play regulates children. So, like for example, beach time, like even like having this, like just learn about sensory play because there are different type of plays and sometimes your child development is very attached to that. As simple example, like I have noticed that my child, for example, he is afraid to be on a swing. And I learned that this is like lack of some, like it's like a lack of some development. So I started getting him on a swing and maybe do just like 1, 2 swings for him to adjust. And now he loves it. So, but all of this like language skill development and in general, they're kind of highly related to the sensory play. So learn about that too, because sometimes if your child is very irritable and it's not an ear infection, you ruled out all of the health because first ruled out health. But then if still this doesn't help and your child is like that, just learn about different type of sensory activities, how they influence on a child and think about maybe something kind of was missing or is missing where potentially you can just, there can be like super easy fixes for those.
Hmm, that's a good tip. The one that actually remind me of something is I find that when my kids have so like when my kids when they're active in terms of like you have to give them like some sort of activity where they have like a push and pull. So one of the strategy that I actually learned from my pediatrician was they need to be able to have like something like pushing against the wall or like walking on their four legs, like crawling, anything that can help them like move their left and right brain kind of like on a different time helps them kind of regulate and help them develop their brain too in order to like really like stay grounded in terms of their emotions. And I find that like before bed I usually like ask like my kids to do like some exercise like either jumping jacks or like it does help them calm down. I feel like before we go to bed we usually do jumping jacks, like push against the wall, some like push-ups or like sit-ups or something like that. Yeah, I feel like helps ground them to kinda get all their sensories out before bed. I don't know if it has helped, but I do find that my kids like, this is kind of part of my routine, so I don't know if it's, like, calms them down, but I do feel like it does help in terms of their regulating and helping them, like, "Okay, now it's time to go to bed, let's stay calm." So maybe just another thing around, as you were mentioning about sensory play too.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Similar, for example, I know that like for my child, if it like spends 15, 20 minutes just barefoot on a sand, he is regulated. So obviously I can do it always, but I just notice little things like that and sometimes I do those.
Yes, yes. All right. So with that, hope you answer all your questions about being a toddler. I know like there's a lot of things that we talked about from like food to like being sick and all that. Do you enjoy that toddler time? I do miss it. Now my kids are a bit older. They're so cute when they're like, wobbling around and, just being the cute chubby cheeks and all that. I do miss it. So do you enjoy this toddler age? Don't let, I guess, like our tips, scare you or anything like that. It is part of growing up, and it's one of the like I always tell people, like my favorite age is probably between 2 to 4 when they're cute and wobbly and not talking back too much yet.
I think our tips are more, hey, like just be prepared, find a solution. Like if you know your work is stressful, you will not be able to manage your sick kid while also working. Just think about agencies you can call that can give you a nanny on call, right? If you are a person who likes everything pre-planned, just reserve a spot in a nearby daycare, like right now while being pregnant. So we are more trying to just give you tips on what to research, what to expect, and when you are prepared, if that makes you feel better, then you will just feel better. But this is beautiful. Like the parenthood is beautiful. Like I am really like enjoying motherhood, and despite of all of the challenges that let's say I have, I would never go back to to just when there were no kids. So yeah, just be
Well, you have to be prepared. Like we're just telling you kind of from our experience, so to hope to give you a little bit more guidance and a little bit of tips to prepare for these things that will happen. Well, Well, with that, thanks again for tuning in on another episode of Sassy Moms. Remember to subscribe to our Spotify and anything that you find your podcast, as well as our YouTube. And if you want to connect with us, Instagram, and yeah, we be the best spot. So with that, thanks again for tuning in. Bye for now.
For now.